Blog on a blog. Tomorrow's news today. Get to the truth. Listen, learn, live. Visit us at yadayah.com.
Looking good there, Roger and Kevin. Yep, that is our vlog on the vlog team. We are going to have to get Captain Kirk to do more reoccurrent duty if he is going to hang there on that page, or we may have to get our Gen Z fellow, John, John, into that slot so that we show a current cast of characters. Good to have you, Roger. You can see that you're loved and valued on the vlog when you get your own avatar.
I like it. It's fun.
Yeah. It's not many of us that have passed 70 that have an avatar to show for it. We've come a long way. All right, baby. So we're going to talk about a number of things on the blog and the vlog today. There's going to be some reoccurring things. One is going to be socialism. We're going to talk about the myth of socialism, because we seem to have a couple of generations that have grown up clueless as to what socialism is all about. We're going to talk about a number of presentations of Muslims being Muslims and what's wrong with Muslims being Muslims and why that's not a good thing. We will address a number of presentations, of blog presentations of acknowledging that I have to confess to the crime. I killed Jesus. I would do it again, but I did. I killed Jesus. And we will talk about how that transpired. We have a number of depictions on ICE. There have been 2 murders over the last week, one in Houston, Texas, the other in Hartford, Maine, where the same exact scenario played out, and ICE agents are just not qualified to be carrying weapons and doing what they're doing. So we have 2 more murders by ICE agents. And so those are some of the themes we're going to cover today. You all ready to talk about those things?
Ready to go. Absolutely.
Okay. First here is that this Tony actually presented something that is correct. I had the privilege of being able to be among the very first people into communist China after Nixon opened it up for travel back in the time, way before there were enterprise zones. And then also behind the Iron Curtain and made it all the way through the Soviet Union. At the time, it was absolutely the Soviet Union. And one of the things you learn is that nobody is trying to flee a capitalist country to a Soviet utopia. They do not exist. And it's just astonishing that the people are so ignorant of socialism, communism, Marxism, fascism, that today's youth are begging for things that are so caustic to everything that they would value. I mean, all socialism is the gateway to communism, and in either system, nobody has anything. Everybody is degraded. They have no freedoms, no prosperity, no inventiveness. You get total indoctrination rather than education. It's a tragic situation to see how people have been misled by these things. So we're going to talk about the first is just a fun slide. No one ever fled a capitalist society in search of a socialist utopia. Socialist utopias only exist in the books. They don't exist anywhere else.
They really screwed up with that Berlin situation, didn't they? I mean, to put one city and to split it and to have communism and capitalism side by side where people on each side of that wall could see, that was an absolute screw up, wasn't it?
Each been 9 Berliner. But that all the way through the Iron Curtain. It was really interesting back in the day when I actually spent, 3 or 4 months just going back and forth between East and West European countries. And the difference was so unbelievably stark in terms of how repressed everything was, just how gray and dire and no freedoms. And, you'd go into a store in a communist country and there'd be either nothing on the shelves, or you want toothpaste, you've got the communist toothpaste, and that is it. And then you go across the street, and there might be 50 different brands of toothpaste. I mean, it's just so overwhelming, the difference. It's almost like going from one dimension to another, and how the choices expand exponentially. That's really true, that communism and socialism contract choices so that your liberties are negligible. They just suck everything out of life.
Right.
We employed quite a few Eastern Bloc folks back before 9/11 happened. And I remember taking one guy over to buy bread. He'd only been in the country, I don't know, a week or two. And he's like, hey, can you take me to the store to buy bread? And I'm like, yeah. And I take him to the bread aisle. And it was 20 minutes for him to decide. He was like, I've never seen anything like these.
They can't even process it. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's just like, again, being taken up in a dimension. Your brain could not process it because there's just so many options. But I remember going into the Gump department store, the largest department store in the world. And I don't know why they call it a department store, but it's in Moscow. And the lines were around the block. As tourists, we were able just to walk in because we weren't buying anything. And they would all line up for better part of a day just to get their one loaf of bread.
Yeah.
That's so destructive.
If I could relate a story about that, back when I was in elementary school, we had a project where we were to pick 5 countries in the world and write to their embassy in Washington requesting information about the country. And some of them I didn't even hear back from. A couple like England and France sent a 1-page brochure in a regular envelope. And one day the postman comes up, knocks on my door. He had 3 8.5 by 11 manila envelopes full of stuff from Russia about tourism in Russia, how to immigrate to Russia. Russia's good. It just struck me as being the contrast there between the Western countries taking for granted what they had and Russia wanting to integrate people back into their country. It's just interesting.
Wow, that is interesting. Yeah, I can tell you that back 50 some odd years ago when I was first in Russia, and I've gone back many times, the people were extraordinarily nice. I mean, it was really a lovely, safe place to be in. It's just that they were so tremendously backwards, and every aspect of their lives was controlled. And it's kind of like today with ICE on the streets. There were gunmen on the streets, and people just behaved because to not behave was an absolute travesty. And it was interesting to watch on all of their billboards and their television channels and the like, how they presented the West. And it was just full-time trying to degrade the United States and Western European countries. They would just take the worst images and twist them to make it look like a hellhole. And then they would show, little children marching and singing songs to the gods of communism. And it was just this tragedy that if you've been exposed to both, it just breaks your heart to see how horrible collectivism is. The more power is concentrated, the worse a society becomes. And this is the nature of socialism and communism. It strives to concentrate power and to make decisions at a central level as opposed to having individuals make their own decisions and be responsible for them. And it just sucks all the life out of a society and of people. Boy, this is becoming more and more common now. This, as you can see, the Israeli flag that is being burnt here is a pretend flag. It's not asking an Israeli flag, but there is something now that's obviously common between Marxists, Muslims, and Gen Z. A complete lack of intelligence and morality. For even the fact that I don't like Israel's leadership. I don't like the divide between the Marxists in Tel Aviv and the Haredim in Jerusalem. I don't have any allegiance to either side and really despise the current government. But that's all said, Israel is overwhelmingly, by a factor of 1,000-fold, better than any of the 55 Islamic countries that surround it. So why would you be opposed to Israel when there are more freedoms, more opportunities, better government, better economy, better everything, better treatment of women, better treatment of minorities, no genocide, no apartheid, and yet apartheid and genocide are ubiquitous in the Islamic countries that surround Israel, and those Islamic countries have been preying on Jews and slaughtering them and enslaving them and denigrating them for 14 centuries. How could you be that ignorant of the history and the situation?
And talk about your Marxist utopias, right? Israel is the closest thing that has ever, I mean, between Tel Aviv, which being very Marxist, and very LGBTQ, and then the kibbutzim in the South, the farmers are, are very, it's like.
I mean, these are Gen Z Marxists, and yet they're protesting against a country where 25% of the population is more liberal than they are.
Yeah.
In Tel Aviv and that area and on the coast. And then you go down south, it is comprised largely of kibbutzim, which are essentially socialist farms. Oh, and when you look at Israel for its first 50 years, every government was either communist or socialistic. They were not run by conservatives. It was an exceedingly socialistic country. So, for Marxists to be opposed to Israel and be in favor of Muslims when there isn't a single liberal Muslim country in the world, they're all repressive. They're all fascist and monarchical. I just am stunned by the stupidity of young people today. Sorry, but it's just true. And you've earned it.
They learned it somewhere. I mean, they didn't come out of the chute thinking that way. So they've been indoctrinated in the school system for a while now. That's where it's coming from. And their teachers, their professors, Yeah.
It's true that they have been indoctrinated. But after a while, that's not an excuse. I mean, I was indoctrinated in Christianity. Was indoctrinated by a father who was an anti-Semite and a racist. I broke free of it. It's not a life sentence to have gone to a school that preaches such nonsense. You can break free of it.
You absolutely
I did. Anybody can. And if you're ever going to have your life matter, you're going to have to break free of it because it's one of the things that God requires of us. He will not even begin to have a relationship with you so long as you're political or religious.
Yeah, and that indoctrination is funny because once again, Israel represents all the things that they love and all their social issues, that they're indoctrinated with. The only thing that they're literally indoctrinated with is hate the Jews, hate Israel.
That's right. Yes.
I mean, and
it's been really for a long time the integration of Marxism and Islam actually began with the Holocaust and Adolf Hitler, when the Grand Mufti of Jerusalem convinced Hitler that exiling the Jews after robbing them was a really bad idea, that he should just exterminate them. And so that is really the integration, because at the time Hitler was absolutely a socialist. He didn't become a fascist until he really liked the snappy uniforms and the whole look of Mussolini, and he wanted a way to differentiate himself from communist Russia. So he kept the name, the Socialist German Workers' Party, but he rebranded himself as a fascist. But fascism and socialism are the same economic and political systems, just under different names. This is the Shah of Iran, his wife and his family. And this was a regime change operation by the United States. So you don't like the Ayatollah, you want regime change in Iran, then you need to know how Iran got to be the Islamic Republic. And the way that happened was that Jimmy Carter essentially deposed the Shah in a regime change operation and brought the Ayatollah back from France. And so the United States is responsible for the mess that is in Iran because we played political God, and the CIA and Jimmy Carter, the anti-Semite, replaced the Shah. And the only reason they replaced the Shah is that the Shah became too concerned about Iranians. He thought, Iranians should have a larger share of the oil profits that were extracted from their land, and that they should have, like freedom and opportunity and education and all those sorts of things. And the overlords in the CIA and the military-industrial complex in the United States says, no, you're not going to do that. We put you in power because the Shah was a regime change operation by the CIA. We put you in power, and we put you in power to be our puppet. And so, no, the profits belong to us, and you're not going to interfere with what we want. And so they replaced him with the Ayatollah. Worked out really great, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember watching the Ayatollah walk down the ramp, the stairs from the airplane when he was coming back. That was a sea change operation.
Yeah, from France, an Air France airplane. And he immediately took the U.S. Embassy hostage. So Jimmy Carter, that had orchestrated his return, was double-crossed by the Ayatollah, and he lost the election to Ronald Reagan because he couldn't free the hostages that were taken by the regime change operation that he sponsored.
Yeah, and that resulted in a big mess in the desert where an airplane crashed. And
yes, absolutely. Yeah, he tried. He tried, and it was like when Trump tried to free Captain Uranium from Iran, and they had all those burnt up airplanes. In fact, it was a far bigger fiasco when Trump tried to rescue Captain Uranium from Iran months ago. It's just that the media is afraid to challenge anything that Trump says is his narrative, and they weren't with Jimmy Carter.
Yeah, and it as history repeating itself leads to the oil embargo that really hurt the economies around the world in the 70s. Yes. But all over that one thing, Strait of Hormuz again. Yeah. It's amazing how much oil comes out of that area that it can affect
20%
every time.
20%. And right now it's going to be a lot worse because the Saudi Arabians have decided that they would bomb the Sana'a airport in Yemen, which is where the Houthis have concentrated. And in doing so, the Houthis have attacked the airport, main airport in Saudi Arabia. And so they're blowing up each other's airports. And the only significant amount of oil that's leaving the Middle East is leaving because the Saudis built a pipeline going west to the Red Sea. And the Houthis will shut that sucker down and start blowing up Saudi Arabian ships now that Saudi Arabia has decided to go to war with them. It was really dumb. Just like the Kuwaitis saying, "Oh, we're going to go attack Iran now," but you see what happened to Kuwait the last couple of days. It's a demolition site.
Yeah, the attacks have definitely been ramping up over there from the Arab states, the countries with flags. If you're saying, more and more,
the state with flags.
They're getting
involved. Trump's MOU of surrender has become a regional war en route to becoming a world war. He's lost complete control.
But also, you got the Mandeb Strait right there that the Houthis control.
Yes, right.
And they could plug that up, and you got a double whammy going on over there.
Oh, of course. That's what I mean. That because that's right off the coast of Yemen, where they control the west part of Yemen. The original government controls the east part. Yeah, most people don't even know that the Houthis are not an ethnic group. They're not even a religious sect of Islam. There was a high-ranking government official in Yemen that had a personality conflict with his senior officers over spending and this kind of thing. He decided to break away, went north, and then he found that he could rally fundamentalist Muslims around him, and he created this concept of the Houthi. And then they went down into the south and conquered the capital, and have been really ruthless towards their own people. It's been a genocide against non-Houthi belonging Muslims there in Yemen. So these are really vicious clowns. The reason that you see them thumbing their nose at Israel and the United States holding AK-47s and swords is that they use their AK-47s and swords to suppress rebellion in Western Yemen. Yeah, this is your typical white supremacist. White and Christian nations. There you go. See, he's a white supremacist. The new country called, this is Jesus, of course, and fancy robes for the Jesus. This is the new country calling itself Israel is not my Israel, and the Jews are not my chosen people. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Whoever you are out there. But let me just tell you, white supremacist, your God isn't God. So you may not like Israel, you may not like Jews, but I'm here to tell you, rather than you being right, your God isn't even a God. So, Sawi, want to play?
Yeah.
He's working at it. He's one of these guys that's trying to lure other people away. So
it's when your issue is somebody's skin tone, that's the best you got. I'm a white nation, so your claim to fame is your skin tone. You ain't got much to offer. You're pretty shallow as a human being. In fact, I would say you are what God would say is a waste of breath. You would be what Yahowah named Hevel. Waste of breath.
Right.
That's how
it
I
is
would
a good
view
picture,
you
though.
and your. Oh,
this is looks like the bearded lady. I mean, it looks like the quintessential bearded lady you see at every circus tent. This picture here.
The long Roman nose and the pretty hair. Yeah, I think your God might even be a fag, but looking by his little pretty skinny fingers there and his cute little robe and his hair, I think your God might be a fag. I know for damn sure ain't a God.
Yeah, Paul was.
No God was ever a man.
Mm-hmm.
No men were ever gods. This is Salgado. He was 52 years old. He was working construction. He had been in the United States over 3 decades. He had left bereaved 3 children, all that were American citizens. He was had applied for his papers to actually be here illegal, but legally, he's one that after 3 decades. I mean, come on, you've been in the country, you've worked for a living, you own a home, you're making payments on it, you're raising your kids, you got a job, definitely a net contributor to the community. And he was in Houston, Texas. And the numbskulls at ICE, because they have no training and there's no intelligence test, there's no test of any kind. You just have to be a malcontent. The malcontents of ICE were out on a raid. They had a specific target that they were going after, and they mistook him for it. He drove out of his home in a van with 3 other guys that all worked on the same job site. And they came up as a posse in unmarked cars, threatening him. And whether or not he heard him or not, who knows? But unmarked cars, it's not the kind of thing that you would pull over because this is a marked police car and they have some reason to pull you over. No, this was not a traffic arrest. He hadn't done anything wrong. It's just unmarked cars pull up and they shoot him and they kill him. And the witnesses in the car have all been interviewed, and they said didn't weaponize his car, and they just flat out killed him. Of course, the ICE agents don't have body cams. They're not like police. They're not trained like police. They don't go to a police academy. And because of Trump controlling the Justice Department and being so vicious, counties, governments, states are afraid to indict the murderers. And so you have no justice. You've got the brown shirts running the country without any ability for justice. And, if a bunch of goons in an unmarked car were threatening me and mistaken identity here. They thought that they had their prey, and they were trying to get him to surrender to them in unmarked cars. It was they made the mistake, and then they doubled down on their mistake by trying to deprive him of his freedom and threatening him, and then they tripled down on it by killing him.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that they are, for lack of a better term, serving warrants. There are judges have issued for these overstayed, folks. And so in order to serve a warrant, they have pictures. Someone is identified. They know a routine. They know where they are. These mistakes should absolutely not happen. This is not, we're serving a warrant to the wrong guy and we shot him dead. I mean, that is an absolute travesty of justice. That just shows the complete lack of any training whatsoever that these guys are getting.
And they shouldn't even be. Listen, the country was built by immigrants. The reason that there are so many immigrants now is because of America's stupid war on drugs. We have made everything from Colombia North unlivable because of kidnappings and all of the influence of the drug cartels. And people are just trying to get away from that. If America didn't have such an appetite for drugs and hadn't criminalized the whole thing to make it so profitable and so deadly, they wouldn't be coming. But those that have been here for 10, 20, 30 years, oh my God, leave him alone. He's a nice man. He's working for a living.
And if they have this person as a target, what's it take to develop a routine to follow them and pick them up when they're by themselves, and have a sheriff's car or highway patrol pull them over so it's not as confrontational, and then arrest them.
A marked vehicle, and don't have the agents delivering the warrant armed. You're delivering a piece of paper. And this was not even the right guy. They were not going after this guy. They mistaken identity, and they got too full of themselves, and they didn't know the proper procedures. And rather than hand the dude a warrant, they handed him bullets.
Yeah, I think you nailed it when you said there's no liability for the guys.
Yeah,
I know in a regular police department, police officers are bonded, and that protects them somewhat. But if they lose that bond, they can be prosecuted. So these guys obviously aren't bonded, and they have no liability. I mean, that's just like asking for that to happen.
Here there were witnesses to the scene and witnesses in the van. And all the witnesses say exactly the same thing, that the ICE agents came up in unmarked vehicles, and they went after the wrong guy. They were the ones who escalated this, and they killed him and then created the backstory of the vehicle endangerment. But it's because that has been their go-to backstory, even when it doesn't fit the evidence, as it will not in the next one that we will consider. So I'm sad because everybody talks about we're opening investigations, and yet we've seen all of the evidence of Preti and of Good, and their killings, clearly murder, no justification of any kind for either one of them, and yet there have been no arrests, no convictions, no nothing. And look at Minnesota's a liberal state, and they're afraid to go after Trump's brown shirts. That's because they're terrorists.
And the 3 witnesses were also arrested for
Yes,
what?
they were
Watching their. I mean,
that was because they don't want them to appear in court, so
Yes.
they pull them apart, they interrogate. Now, you don't have the right. These are witnesses. These are not criminals here. And they interviewed them separately. They had the exact same story, but they interviewed them separately, and then they were threatening the whole time to extradite them without hearing, without trial, and they're still trying to get rid of the witnesses. It's repulsive. And all of these morons that are MAGAs that are saying, "Yep, this is what I voted for."
This is just third world country thuggery.
Yeah, it's the rise of the Fourth Reich.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was killed because his skin tone is a little darker than yours and mine. Yeah, this woman has a pretty good summary of the whole thing. I don't know if you want to listen to it, but she does a decent job of explaining the facts in the case. Without God, we are nothing. Yeah, well, unfortunately, his God is Satan. And with Satan, he's something. Yeah, you're looking right there. That profile, that is Satan. The prophets are never wrong. They described him to a T. This time, this place, this man, this attitude, these peculiarities and perversions. This is literally Satan incarnate, the most overt Satan has ever been. And if you're a Twistian MAGA supporting him, congratulations. You are now on the devil's team. That's Satan.
Oh, and a direct ticket to Sheol too.
You bet.
Not just
voted for him. You support him. You get to follow him to Sheol. He's going to demand naming rights. So you may want to be in the Trump wing of hell, but that's your call.
It gets more and more obvious. It gets more and more obvious every day. I mean,
yes,
every day.
His God is Satan, and he is his own God. So this is you play the short video. It's about what Mecca was like before they found oil under the sand. They're eating lizards and yeah, this is Mecca. This is Arabia. Great, huh? My point is, and in writing the 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion, by covering the entire Quran, putting the Quran in the context of Muhammad's life using the chronological hadith collections, the result is that you recognize that Islam is so unbelievably stupid that the Quran is the worst book ever written by any moral standard, by any literary standard, by any originality standard. The Quran is just the dumbest, worst book ever written. And so you recognize that this promise of you go kill a bunch of people and you rape people and you rob them, and your God loves that and wants a 20% cut of whatever you rob and enslave and rape, and he will not only take his 20% cut of what you rob and rape and plunder, but that he will guarantee you the opportunity to have perpetual virgins in paradise as a result of you being a terrorist, thief, and mass murderer. To sell something that's stupid, Islam had to be conceived in a place like Arabia, where civilization passed. It was this vast ocean of sand. The Romans didn't go there. The Persians didn't go there. The Greeks didn't go there. Nobody went there. There was the Egyptians didn't go there. There was no contact with intelligent life Here, I mean, the camels were no dumber than the people who conceived Islam, and it is the only place where a religion this stupid could have taken root. And from the point that it took root, over the next 100 years, they killed 200 million people and essentially terrorized all of the Islamic countries that we know now into submission. And they continued to kill from 700 CE to 1600, continuing to be apartheid and genocidal and terrorists. And so it's a religion built on terror.
It's an interesting aside. I saw this morning where Trump's now demanding a 20% tariff, 20% toll on ships passing through Hormuz.
Yes, he's the guardian of the sea. Yeah, we'll get to a clip on Trump on the 20% toll, because in a normal world that would have gotten him impeached. The statement is so ludicrous, so inconsistent with world norms that in a normalized world, that statement alone would have been enough to get him impeached. But we're so insane today. It says so many crazy things that just all passes by. But and we'll get to it. Let's,
I was kind of thinking with you talking about how Saudi Arabia was just this vastness of sea, and there weren't a lot of people, and definitely no civilizations of anything to there. It was the perfect place for Yah to take his new family out of Egypt. There, they could detox off religion and politics with none of that crap around them and everything. There was nothing around them to influence them and everything.
Yeah, there was no life in Choreb. No life. It was completely desolate. And that's where he took them to detox. It didn't work. I mean, even God can't get things to happen sometimes. Here is a Thomas Sowell, who is an interesting spokesperson. And he said here, he says, blacks were not enslaved because they were black. And it's a statement of fact. They were available. Slavery has existed in the world for thousands of years. We know for 6,000 years, ever since there have been written recordings of history, slavery has been the driving force of empires. And whites have enslaved other whites. Yep, it's true, for centuries before the first black was brought into the Western Hemisphere. Asians enslaved Europeans, Asians enslaved other Asians, Africans enslaved other Africans, and indeed, even today in North Africa, blacks continue to enslave blacks. That would be throughout Africa. Africa is still very much a slave-run continent. And of course, there are 55 million slaves in the world today. Of those, 50 million of them are in Islamic countries. So slavery is a tragic part of human history. It's one of the reasons God is so upset with humans, is our propensity to enslave. God had the only solution to it, which was the Yobel that automatically freed slaves. But it's just this travesty of the human mindset. The only positive about slavery, and understand that in Rome, which America likes to copy because they think it was a republic, and Greece, which they think was democratic, and neither were really true. In Rome, it was only the senatorial class that got to vote for anything, so they were not a republic. And in Greece, it was only the city-state of Athens, and only for a very brief period of time, and it was an oligarchy. And women didn't have any vote, and nor did anybody that wasn't a landowner have any vote. And they were really tragic. They were warmongering nations even then. So the fact is that it has just been the way of man, is slavery. And the alternative, because man is so vicious trying to conquer other people, if it weren't for slavery, they would just be genocidal. And so the African slave trade, 100% of them were captured by other Africans, and they were marketed then by Muslims and then shipped by European shipping companies. But they were enslaved by Africans, and they were marketed by Muslims. This is the reality of it. And it's just a tragic stain on the human conscience. But to think that the blacks in America were somehow special as a form of slave, it's just not true.
Yeah, and the Palestine really are a proof statement for your comment about, if they weren't enslavers, they would just be genocidal, because
Right.
I mean,
They just kill them.
The Palestine had no redeeming qualities whatsoever, and that's what happened to them.
Right.
They weren't even useful as slaves.
Yeah, they were so vicious as an invading group that came from Crete, and they were the dropouts of the Punic society. The Philistines were the Punics had Phoenicia and Carthage, and their day, Punic and Carthage were, particularly Carthage though, was the dominant superpower of the world, and they played just like the United States. They had the only reserve currency. They had the largest navy. They didn't conquer countries. They just put military bases throughout them, and they got a cut of all world trade. And so Carthage was yesteryear's United States. And but they had some standards, and the Philistines were those that just didn't fit in. They were the rabble rousers. They were all sent away, and they went to the area of Gaza, and they began to terrorize everybody around them, the Egyptians and the Jews. And eventually, they got their clout cleaned. They really got hammered, and they are long extinct. There hadn't been a Philistine in a very long time, and the only reason that they were exterminated as opposed to enslaved and hauled off into other countries is they were too ruthless to be slaves.
The real Cretans.
They were the real Cretans. They were the first of the real Cretans. The thing that took place in Maine with the killing of I think it was a 30-some-odd-year-old father of a 3-year-old girl, exactly under the same circumstances, and the senator there, I think it's Collins is her name. She got a break because the Democrats actually nominated a lobster fisherman who was abusive of women. He was a socialist, but a lobster fisherman that liked to beat up women. And so he had to resign from the ticket. I don't think they've come up with a replacement, but they really wanted to take Maine to control the Senate. And she is pro-ICE. And so this may be enough to turn that seat, even though the Dems at this point don't have a candidate because they nominated a sexual predator. Good for them, huh?
Right.
Good for them.
Yeah, good for them. Oh, here we are. I don't know if we're George Washington or Napoleon, but these boneheads that want to promote Trump as this glorious warrior leader may want to look at his draft records, because you're looking at PFC bone spurs here. I think it was 6 deferments that he got, all on a lie of bone spurs. So your scum there. He is a draft dodger. And oh, by the way, he's doing about as well as the U.S. did during the Revolutionary War. Most people don't know, but during the Revolutionary War, the Americans didn't win a battle. Didn't win a single battle. The only reason that the war finally came to a conclusion is that Thomas Jefferson convinced the French, who didn't like the British very much, to quarantine, to blockade a harbor where the British couldn't resupply. And because of that, of the French involvement, is the only reason that Washington actually won a battle, if you will. And it was by default, because the French came in, Lafayette, and barricaded the British supply lines. So you want to be George Washington, then you're doing every bit as well. You fought a lot of battles and you haven't won one yet. Congratulations. There's your badge.
Yeah, the United States was bankrupt after that. I mean, that's the currency was kaput, the whole,
Oh,
and
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah. It
headed
was a
right down the same.
very unpopular revolution. And the fact is that the overall British taxation at the time was in the 1% range. And after the war, it jumped up to almost 20%. So, if the war was representation without taxation, you were a hell of a lot, or taxation without representation, you were a lot better off under the Brits than you were under the revolutionary colonists, for damn sure.
Wasn't there a man, I can't remember his name, that basically financed the
Yeah, it's a Jewish
revolution?
man.
Jewish man.
Jewish man.
And they never paid him back.
No, of course, no. And don't even give him credit. He's the only reason the American Revolution succeeded, because he financed it. Yeah, it's a Jewish man. Solomon, I think was his name, but from Europe, and he gave his entire fortune to it. So here you have black and white, brown. Everybody is equal. Everybody's equal in Islam. Let's see. Are there any women in that picture? No, there are no women in that picture. Okay, and picture here happens to be AI, because, well, guess what? In Islam, everybody, by the very concept of Muslim, means slave to Allah. So everybody, if you want to say, is equal in Islam, well, then they're all slaves. Congratulations, you have just been put at the bottom of the tier. So you can all be equal as slaves if you want to all be equal as slaves. Women are the slaves of Muslim men, and Islam was literally financed through the slave trade. Every one of the 77 terrorist raids that Muhammad led, he prospered by enslaving those he didn't kill and rape. And he sold children off as slaves to finance more horses, camels, and spears and bow and arrows. That's what he did. If it wasn't for the slave trade, Islam would not exist. And so to promote Islam as liberating, you have to be a complete moron. And if you don't know the truth, then go to yahowah.com, read Goddamn Religion, and learn the truth. And then you'll be in a position where you can say, no, this is really, really stupid.
Isn't that the way with all man-made systems, though? I mean, it pulls Marxism is the same way. Everybody's equal. Yeah, everybody's equally poor. It brings everyone down to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah, except in Islam, it's a little bit different. If you're a non-Muslim in a Muslim society, well, the Muslim is a slave to Allah, and Allah happens to be Satan. The non-Muslim is a dhimmi, and he cannot own, or she cannot own property, can't have any say in the society, and is taxed to death, and can be beaten for any reason, and has no claim ever against a Muslim. Women are property. So half the population is nothing but property. So in socialism, everybody just kind of is at a bottom level. And Islam, everybody is at a bottom level, but there's a bottom and a bottom and a bottom below the bottom. So there's 3 levels of bottom below the bottom. Women, non-Muslims, and the countries all run on slaves. Islamic countries do, because Muslims don't work. Okay. I was saved by God. Donald Trump. Yeah, he's out now promoting that thing that took place on the campaign trail, which was, every time I see it, I just laugh and say, this wasn't even a good charade. And he claims that the bullet was moved by God to save him. And I'm here to tell you that mankind have been mistaking Satan for God for 6,000 years. And in Donald's case, it's not a mistake. He knows exactly who has possessed him. But in the MAGA case that promotes this kind of BS, you have mistaken God for Satan. Satan is not going to let that piece of shit die. Not until it's all over, and it'll be all over. If you want to see him incarcerated and sent off to Sheol, Mark your calendars, 24th of September, 2033. It'll be on the Temple Mount. That's the date that Trump is finally done at.
It's going to be the day of the greatest show on earth.
I can't wait to see it.
Can't wait to see it. Can't wait to see it. I'll be there, and it'll be most interesting because Isaiah 10 has a lot to say about how that's going to play out. Turns out, the moment that flame under the mutilated body of the Adam of Parah occurs, out of that flame comes a blazing sword, and then down from Shamaim, the stoutest of Yahweh's host, under the command of that blazing sword. And we have been given the responsibility to rid the world of MAGAs and Marxists and Muslims and Twistians. All gone. So it is going to be quite the show.
Good. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so this is this woman. She has gone out and she's had the I don't know, maybe it's sense of humor or something. She asked MAGAs where they get their news. I mean, how could you actually view Donald Trump as somebody positive? I love my Trump. You're never going to take my Trump away from me. I'll die beside my Trump. I've got it back forever. And it's always the same answer. Newsmax has become worse than Fox. For those that don't know Newsmax, Newsmax is worse than Fox. Then it's Fox, and it's Truth Social. Occasionally you get in a Rumble, but that's it. This one says I get my information directly from the president himself, right there from his tweets on Truth Social. I believe every word that he writes. Of course, now to believe every word he writes, you would have to forget what he wrote this morning, because by this afternoon he will have
It's a new story.
predicted it. And you'll have to be completely deficient at math, because he can't do math. You'll have to be completely deficient in history. And you'll have to be completely deficient in logic. But besides that, he writes beautifully with all capital letters, and he has Ava Brown at his side to create the nice little images for you. And you've got cute ears, so you've got that going for you. Got ears on her hat. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, it's interesting, the MAGA phenomenon. My brother has a master's degree in philosophy from a university. He studied communism. He studied all the other isms. He knows them inside and out. And yet he fell into the MAGA trap. I cannot believe it. I've questioned him about it, but he is hard on there, and he should know better. He's somebody that should know better.
It's every time that I'm confronted by somebody that is promoting this, you just say, what a complete waste of a soul. What a waste of a human life. It is so obviously demonic what he says and does. He is such a overt liar, so chaotic, so incompatible with anything that one would consider human. I can't even feel sorry for them. I'm totally and completely disgusted by them and the hell they have brought on the world. And what these demonic little helpers don't know is that Donald Trump is Satan. I mean, there really is a Satan. Donald Trump is Satan incarnate. Just the truth.
Yeah.
If you don't think so, go to yahowah.com and read Et Sarah, Time of Trouble, 825 pages, and it's proved conclusively. Now, I would play this because I want you to see that white car that's just above the triangle there is going to, that car right there, is going to slowly, I think it's 4.5 loops. It may not, this one may have cut in late. I think this one did. But one of those that I tried to send to this page, 4.5 loops, just about this page that you would walk, going in circles in that intersection, which means that the driver is dead. He's hunched over the steering wheel. When he was killed, he would have fallen to the right side. He can't fall to the left side because of the door. So he fell to the right side. His hand then pulled the steering wheel, and so it's the car is in idle, but it's still in gear, and so it's just going in circles. This means they had already killed him.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and play it. See, it's about as fast as in fact, even slower than a person would normally walk.
Mm-hmm.
This is not somebody trying to use their car as a weapon. This is so this was only one loop. There's actually 4.5 loops by that car, and by that time, the driver's long dead. They shot him through the front windshield. And so this idea that he was using his car as a weapon is absolutely and totally, completely ludicrous. They just murdered him. And mistaken identity.
The pictures I've seen show a white vehicle, or they did some sort of pit maneuver on him to get him to stop.
Not him to stop. He's dead already. You get that? He's dead. They're not trying to get him to stop. He's dead. The car is in idle, and the car is in drive, but the engine is idle. That's why it's going in these circles. They rammed the side of his vehicle because there was no way to open the door and hit the brake. Okay. The man is laying over in the seat. His daughter is in the back seat. They shot him dead through the front windshield. We'll have another a view of this, but this is outright murder. Yeah, see there they are. That's the 4.5 loops, and so rather than this notion that he was using his car as a weapon, and they were trying to shoot him for him fleeing. No, the car that's after he had done 4.5 loops and being already dead in that intersection. You see?
Okay,
that's how they stopped it.
Right. Okay.
So that's how they stopped the car with a dead driver.
Right.
He is flat out dead at that point. And then they had their audacity to haul him out of the car, bleeding from gunshot wounds to the head, and they handcuffed him, and he laid there on the street, bleeding out for 5 minutes before he got any medical attention. I mean, this is America. This is what America has become. You know, I've been all over the world, 175 countries. I don't think I've ever seen a country this despicable.
I got to comment on that. You know, I was a fireman for 8 years, and we used to roll up on accidents all the time. And a lot of times the police were there before we were. I never once saw a police officer perform any kind of first aid. And I went up on hundreds of those, not a single time. They'd wait for us to get there. And that can be the difference. That 30 seconds or a minute can be a difference.
Right. And they're all trained to be able to do it.
Yeah.
They just won't do it. Nope. Not going to touch that guy. Not going to try to save that guy. Nope. And here, these guys shot him. And rather than help him, they went over, had a consult, and said, what's going to be our story here to justify this? And these two guys that are right there in the door and the window, they're coming up with their backstory. Anyway, let's keep on going, because I know I have one that has the 4.5 rotations of the car. Oh, yeah, okay. Jesus was white. No, Jesus is dead. I killed him. You don't think so? Read the 5 volumes of Twistianity, free at yahowah.com. I killed him, and he did the I did. This is just pathetic. These are back to we want to be killers for God. The next crusade is going to be lit. They look like ice, don't they? Mass all covered up. Yeah. Killing for pretend gods. Good for you.
Dark aesthetic. It is a very dark aesthetic. I mean,
killing for fake gods. I wonder if people hate religion. Oh, so here's this Marxist, a really nice coat there. Really, you got to love the jacket. And he says, China was never the problem. China never stole a single job. Our jobs were sent to China by billionaires who didn't get an F about their country or the workers and only wanted to increase their profits. First of all, he's a Marxist. So why would he have a problem with the people working in a communist country?
Right. Why wouldn't he want to support
the should be,
the economy of China?
Should be paradise, right? So congratulations. And by the way, there was never a job that was exported. Never one. No. And the people that run businesses like that are very, very, very seldom billionaires. Very, very, very seldom billionaires. And they're not exporting jobs. The last thing they want to do is make a product overseas, because you lose control of your patent rights when you make a product overseas. Your tool can be loaned out to other people. You have long supply lines, which means now you have to have large amounts of inventory. Inventory is death for a business, and so that's the difference in labor is offset by duties and freight costs and the time value of money in bringing the product in. So the only reason products are made overseas is because they can't be made here. So it is the decisions that were made in America against business by assholes like this that made it impossible to make things here, which is why they're made overseas and imported back into the country. We just have complete ignoramuses as it relates to all of this, and they want to condemn the very businesses that created the country that they now want to besmirch.
Going to say that better be a faux fur coat, otherwise he's in a lot of trouble.
He's a twerp. Wouldn't it be great if all the socialists in America went to a socialist country? So I up at the top there, if you look at the top, I have listed, please go to the top. I have listed that's what the socialist communist paradises are. So the Marxist-Leninist states in the world today are China, but that's only the government, because China's economically is run on free enterprise. Cuba, that's a lovely place, right? Laos, Vietnam, and North Korea. You love communism, baby? Go to one of those places. Socialist governments include Venezuela, Bolivia, Angola, Mozambique, South Africa, Namibia, Portugal, and Mexico under the Morena Party. So, do you think communism is such a good thing? Socialism is such a good thing? Which one of those countries do you want to move to? Constitutions which claim socialism are Bangladesh, Nepal, Nicaragua, Portugal, Sri Lanka, Tanzania, Algeria, Eritrea, and Guyana. Now, what do those places have in common other than abject poverty and being hellholes to try to live in?
Right.
I mean, how stupid do you have to be a democratic socialist? You know, my best friend on this island, she calls herself a democratic socialist. You know, read the damn Post. Which of those countries do you want to go to? It is always fails, always 100% of the time. That's why when I see the response to that is always Sweden. No, Sweden is a successful socialist country. No, it's not. There is no socialism at all economically in Sweden. The productivity is all in private hands. In fact, in terms of government influence and the means of production, if you compare the United States to Sweden, the United States is much more socialistic than is Sweden. They tax average citizens a lot. They have a VAT tax, which is highly regressive, and they have a high income tax at 45%. But they don't tax businesses hardly at all. Their business tax and corporate tax is much less than the United States, because they realize that private enterprise and business is the one that delivers the money for their national programs, you know, education and healthcare and all that sort of thing. So they are hugely free enterprise in Sweden. So no, it doesn't work there. Free enterprise works there. And there was a decade where Sweden said, well, let's be more liberal and let's spend more, and we'll have more social programs on that are government sponsored. And they bankrupted the country. The debt rose, and it became impossible to even manage the burden of it. And so they said, oh, that didn't work. We'll stop that and let's go back to where we were. So no, Sweden is not a socialist democracy. And everybody knows it that has ever looked into the issue.
Well, if you listen to the Democratic Socialists running for office here, it seems to me like they're trying to turn U.S. into a democratic socialist country.
Oh, of course. And because 66% of Democrats are socialists. 66%. That's why Trump won the last election. There are enough, particularly in independents, 60% of independents are non-socialists. And it's the only reason Trump won the last election. If the choice is between a egomaniacal sexual pervert and warmonger and a communist, turns out that the independents now are voting for the, I don't know. It's a tough call, huh? Which one are you going to choose?
Gosh, that is saying something when Satan is the lesser of two evils to communism. That is saying something, right?
It is saying something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, Jesus Christ is the only true God. Well, that's news to Yahowah, who is the only true God. And, oh, by the way, God is not a man. And if you think that God is a man, you have a wee, puny little God. Can you imagine being so out of touch with reality here? The Godfather, who considers himself an Italian, thinks that Islam is the wolf in sheep's clothing. There is nothing about Islam that has anything to do with a wolf or a sheep. The wolf in sheep's clothing is Paul. He wrote your New Testament. How could you be so stupid? Oh, yes. Jews are the enemy of all men. Yeah. The Christian New Testament is a vile anti-Semitic trope. It was written by a demon-possessed man, Paul, and he's overtly admits that he's demon-possessed in the second letter to Corinth. He is just a mean-spirited, sexually perverted, egomaniacal thug who created a pretend God by counterfeiting what was said about David. And he was a Jew who hated Jews. And so he created this anti-Semitic religion, and it's the religion that led to the Holocaust. It's the religion that is responsible for anti-Semitism today. So the answer is Paul was the plague of death, according to God. So you can believe Paul or you can believe God, but their stories are the opposite of one another. Choose.
And Paul is called out on Topical.
Mm-hmm. One ultimate scumbag. Yeah, here's a Muslim cutting off the hair of a woman because she wasn't wearing her hijab. Why do Marxists promote Islam? I mean, they're morons twice over, economically and religiously. It's just astonishing that, again, that the quality of thinking today is so debilitated. And it's so much worse because of X and Facebook and AI. But academia and religion and politics have really ruined humanity. I would be willing to wager that the state of humanity today is far worse than what God responded to during the flood when he lashed out at the Nephilim. I would say that if God doesn't deal with, and he's going to, humanity today, he needs to write an apology letter to Sodom.
Yeah.
I saw a video, I don't know, a few weeks ago. It was about Islamic woman, and they were took her hijab off or hit the top of it,
Yeah.
and then they slid a noose around her neck.
See,
And
in Islam, a woman has no rights. The Quran deprives her of rights. Muhammad, in his farewell sermon, says you can lock her in a closet, you can keep her nude, you can starve her to death, you can beat her, whatever you want to do. She is your property. And it's a religion that appealed to the worst in men. And so it has delivered the worst of women. But, the women have been Stockholmed in Islam so long that they go along with and promote this religion that has deprived them of everything. I mean, 250 million little girls have had their genitals mutilated because they can be sold for more money if they can prove virginity and never enjoy sex. So they have their vaginas mutilated, sewn up, and then the clitoris is cut out by their mothers. It's a swell religion, isn't it?
Yeah, and to imagine that we try to think how barbaric things were back in medieval times, even further back to your Nephilim times, right? The flood, that how barbaric our imaginations go to, how bad man must have been. And there's no doubt that we are absolutely worse now, just by the worse. Simple sheer numbers.
Yeah, we're far worse than we were back in the time of Sodom, back in the time of Imperial Rome, back in the time of the Nephilim. Mankind has never been as depraved as we are now, as heartless, thoughtless, immoral, ignorant, irrational. All right, so this is another scene. I don't think this one will play. I think we'll have to get to another one that plays, but I had one that you could. I don't think this one is clickable, but
no, this goes to CNN.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you'd have to click on that CNN.com. Maybe that will take us to it. Let's hope that it does. Yeah, here it is. No, this is too late.
That's just their montage of
yeah. This is a montage. Yeah, it's a montage. Yeah, no, it's not the one that I'm looking for that has the car. You can see the car on the right, but just keeps on going in circles. So we'll find the one that is 4.5 times in the loop. This is quite a story here. This are you familiar with this couple?
No,
she's quite the hero. They were on a Ryanair flight, climbing out of 16,000 feet. And the CFM, which is a partnership between a French company and GE that makes the engine for the 737, I think it's the 737-800. The CFM engine blew. And when it blew, it liberated a fan blade, and that fan blade went through or at least hit into and cracked the window where he was sitting. He had the window seat. And it pulled him out the window to his waist.
Wow.
So he's now in the airstream. They're probably at that point flying, because they're in the climb. They're probably only climbing at 250 knots. But, airplanes flying around at 300 miles an hour. And it pulled him out to his waist. And she grabbed a hold of his legs long enough to hold him there while they got other passengers to grab him at his legs and pull him back in.
Wow.
But yeah, he was flapping outside the airplane.
Wow.
And the only thing that probably saved him, because the airplane obviously had rapid decompression, is that 16,000 feet is marginally different than where we are now. As a pilot, you can fly even without oxygen up to 15,000 feet. Above 12.5, as a pilot, typically you'd want to put on oxygen. You get up to 15, you'd better have it on if you're going to fly for any length of time up at that altitude. But if that plane had been at its cruising altitude of 30,000 feet, 32,000 feet, he'd have been sucked out, and she would have been sucked out, and and anybody sitting in the vicinity without a seatbelt would have been sucked out. It would have been a real tragic situation. So they're lucky they were at 16,000 feet and the pilots descended rapidly. But that's the story. He was sucked out the window of the airplane.
I'm just trying to imagine going. I don't know that I could crawl through one of those windows.
He's a fairly thin guy. Yeah, he's a fairly thin guy.
I mean,
and and the windows are rounded. The whole window blew out. So and he's badly bruised. They showed hospital pictures. I can
imagine. Yeah,
he was pretty badly bruised. But yeah, he it sucked him right out, and she pulled him in. I said, please keep your head and arms inside the vehicle at all times.
Wear your seatbelt. Yeah.
This is a Muslim. He's beating a Muslim woman with a vacuum cleaner. I guess it's better than beating her with a baseball bat. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. What a lovely religion. He's worried about his foot. So there it is, Guerrero's car. It was rammed on to stop it. You can see it all dented in on the side there. Anyway, it's that was a real what a tragedy.
Not a tragedy.
World is waiting. Yeah, their world is waiting for Trump in a body bag. His departure scheduled 9/24/33, September 24th. 2033 Temple Mount. He's Satan, and I've proven it. Go to yahowah.com if you want the evidence for it. But there will be no body bag. I can assure you there will be no body bag. Boys going to Sheol. Yeah, here's this. Orange just loves to taunt the religious. Original sin. I just got here. What do I do? You read the Torah. There's no original sin. In fact, there's not even a word for sin. Again, God really doesn't give a rat's patootie what we do individually. What he hates is what we do collectively that is either religious or political to misrepresent who he is and what he's saying. But I do like the little kid there. What? Original sin? I just got here. What did I do?
That's cute.
Charlie. Well, Jesus Christ isn't a trend, a religion, or a myth. He is Lord. Well, he knows better now. I can assure you, Charlie knows better now. Not too late for the rest of you. Go again, yahowah.com, and you'll learn the truth. It was too late for him because he promoted Christianity and his Jesus, Mr. Christ, as a Lord, and he died with that guilt, and because he was a promoter, not one who was deceived, but a deceiver, he is in hell. That's just I didn't send him there. That's just where he is. There is 0% possibility that Charlie Kirk's not in hell. You cannot promote the fake religion and the tragedy of it that you've replaced Yahowah with Jesus and a Mr. Christ with the actual Messiah, David. You can't do that to God and not end up in hell. God wouldn't be just otherwise. Sorry, Charlie. So here is the assessment that I just was curious. So this notion that Sweden is the proof that social democracy works, socialism and democracy mix. And no, Sweden is a capitalist country with comprehensive welfare state at the top of it. It's not a socialist nation in terms of its economics. The means of production remain overwhelmingly in private hands, with businesses operating through free market mechanisms, competition, and there's very, very little state ownership and no central planning. So economic structure, while often mislabeled as socialist due to the high taxes and social net, Sweden features strong property rights, minimal occupational licenses, and lower corporate taxes than many of the European countries. The government spends approximately 49% of its GDP compared to 45% for the United States, funding universal health care and education. And it is financed through broad-based taxation, including a highly regressive 25% value-added tax. It means every time you go buy something, you have another 25% tax on it. So what you do when you have a value-added tax like that and it's not prorated is you make certain things like nicer cars or airplanes or boats or nice homes or something, you make them prohibitive so that nobody can afford to buy them. And so they have no value in the society. Historical context, Sweden experimented with a more socialist-leaning policies in the 70s and 80s, resulting in economic stagnation. There's no incentive in a socialist system. That's why you had economic stagnation, capital flight, and no net private job creation for over 2 decades. Following a crisis in the early 1990s, the country, they say liberalize. What they mean is they said, okay, we're just not going to do that anymore. We're not going to we're going to free our economy back to free enterprise. So they abolished wealth and inheritance taxes. Abolished them, which means that we're no longer going to punish success. We want you to go to work. And they embraced market reforms. Experts like Norberg argued that Sweden's success stems from these capitalistic reforms, noting that on several indicators beyond taxes, Sweden is slightly more capitalistic than the United States. So for those of you, this is your bright shining star and say socialism works. Nah, it does not. Oops.
Well, the last time I checked, the local IKEA store was still operating.
Yes, it is. Yeah, but barely hanging on at this point because the brick and mortar is not functional very much in the United States anymore. But yep, it's absolutely a capitalistic country in terms of its economy.
You know, I would take that
Communism
social. I would take Swedish communism here in the United States. It sounds
You
like.
would.
Well, it sounds like that no wealth tax, no inheritance tax. Their idea, it's not. It's
Yeah.
it seems like they got a better deal.
All because when they tried socialism, it failed. No jobs were created, no wealth created. The economy went into huge deficits, and so they tried socialism economically, and it failed. And so they got rid of the disincentives: no death tax, no wealth tax. They lowered taxes and they reduced regulations. They said, oh, that was really stupid. We won't do that again. So they tried socialism. It just didn't work. Failed even in Sweden.
The 45% income tax is a little bit of a gut punch, I'll tell you.
Oh, plus a 25% VAT. Plus a 25% VAT. Okay, fine, says Trump. I'll be willing to take a bullet for this country. My response is, okay, fine by me. Right. Your decision, not my execution. Yeah, Trump, I'm willing to take a bullet for this country. Okay, have it your way. Yeah. So, the goal of socialism is communism. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Lennon.
Straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, socialists differentiate themselves from communists, but the godfather of communism, Vladimir Lenin, actually states that communism is the goal of socialism. And keep in mind that the most dreaded fascist of all time was a Marxist. He was a socialist. Adolf Hitler. So was Mussolini. He was a socialist too.
It's right in the name, Nazi. They don't ever want to say that, but it's right in the name.
Great. That is correct.
We're not hiding it.
Yes. Yeah. I'd never turn my back on this man. I can understand that. I wouldn't either. He'd pick your pocket, he'd drive a knife into your back, and then he'd blame you for both. Yeah. I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Not a guy.
I wonder what the guy was. Where the guy was with the ketchup bottle. I guess he's out of shot here.
You know, the more I have thought about this,
yes,
Trump grew up around the 80s and 90s with Vince McMahon, right? And the wrestling, it is a very well-known old wrestling trick to keep a razor blade and just slit that part of your ear. I've even think I've heard him talk about it before. That Trump talk about it previously about how they fake things in wrestling and stuff. That they slice that part of the ear and it bleeds.
When he had his hand go to his ear after hearing the shot, he could have easily done that, or he could have just such a wimp, here's Private Bone Spurs here. He could have just busted a little package of red dye or blood coloring ointment. But no, I think this is, when you look at everyone and the way they responded to this and the fact that he has no injury on his ear of any kind, it is a fraud. Yeah, this is insider trading, but this is what's happening in Trump world. You bomb Iran, oil prices rise. Once they've risen, then you sell the stocks. Then you talk of an imminent peace. We won the war. It's Gulf of Hormuz is going to be open, and oil prices drops, and then you buy the stock based upon the low condition, and then you go bomb Iran so that the prices go up again, and there goes the cycle. It's Trumpian, but it's a felony. So those of you who have done it, you are committing a felony.
I think I saw something a couple of days ago where there was one period of time, a week or two, where Trump, someone representing Trump, made 27,000 trades.
Yeah. Oh, Trump has had like 80,000 trades in the last 2 years, and when you look at the shorts market for Brent crude futures, it's all tied to Trumpian statements. We have a deal, we don't have a deal. We have a deal, we don't have a deal. All that kind of stuff. So it's true. We can play this one because I would say that when Trump comes out and says we're going to have the guardians of the sea, and that we're going to charge 20% for providing this service, after he says no one's ever going to charge fees, and he's even had Rubio out there saying that the international law does not allow you to have a tariff on transport, and the Iranian tax was going to be between 1% and 2%, and then he comes out with 20%, and we're going to charge this because we're going to be the guardians of the sea. In a normal world, he'd be impeached for this.
And the Middle East probably would no longer be with us, because you saw they sent missiles to 5 different countries that never even knew they were involved, because they're stone cold crazy. They are crazy, and we're not going to put it up. Yeah, I want to be reimbursed because we're protecting a very rich portion of the world. We're spending money. And so what we've done is we are going to be reimbursed for protection. We're protecting by the countries that we're helping.
Just like the mafia.
Instance, you look at the 5 countries. You have Saudi Arabia, you have UAE, you have Qatar, or Qatar as I always say, you have Qatar, Bahrain, and by the way, you have others. You have Kuwait, and you have others, and they will do very well. But we think it's appropriate that we don't need them. We have more oil than any other country in the world. When you add Venezuela, which has been amazing, which has tremendous amounts of oil that we control. When you add Venezuela and everything else,
he's not
more than
not shipping it, and he's not giving the Venezuelans any cut of it, and he's not giving America any cut of it. He's putting it in a Qatar bank account,
including Saudi Arabia, including Qatar, including.
So he's the guardian of the seas. He's going to control the Strait of Hormuz, and he's going to charge a 20% fee. So we should not have the Iranians controlling the Strait of Hormuz and charging 1%, because that's just wrong. But we'll have the United States control the Strait of Hormuz and charge 20%, because that's right.
Yeah. Man,
I have that correct?
This war, there would be peace in the Middle East instantly the moment that Iran said, you know what, Donald, we're going to cut you in on the grift.
Absolutely.
I mean, everything goes away. That is all he cares about.
Cut you in on the grift. But you're a little bit of a piggy here. If you want 20%, we're only taking one. We can take that up to 2, and we'll give you, we'll give you half of it. But you have to be comfortable too. Listen, if the United States and the Guardians of the Sea could open the Strait of Hormuz, do you think the United States would have opened the Strait of Hormuz?
Right.
But the reason the Strait of Hormuz isn't opened by the United States, and every time that the United States tries to say, "Oh, come on, we got you covered," and the ship blows up, is because the United States can't open the Strait of Hormuz. So your Guardian of the Sea is BS, pal. And on top of that, you're sounding like the Godfather, that you're going to take a 20% cut on other people's business just because you have a gun pointed at their head. Congratulations there, pal. You are now officially the Godfather.
Yeah.
Too bad that you're using the United States military as your goons and your mafia enterprise. Too bad that there's MAGAs out there that are supporting you using the U.S. military to support your Godfather ambitions.
Isn't the head Godfather called a Don?
Yeah, he is a Don. Yeah, we have Don the Godfather. Yeah, that's good. I like that. No deal with the devil, but excuse me, he is the devil. Literally, he is the devil. So now what? But it's a really nice sword, and he killed a monster. It's that clever. Here's poor Rubio. Marco, I'm so sorry for you. Marco is saying, that's the law. It's an international waterway. No country is allowed to charge tolls on an international waterway. That is international law. That's the way it is all over the world. And that's the way we expect it will be there. Marco? Trump to Marco. You're off script there, Marco. I want to charge 20%. We don't have those stinking, scummy Iranians. They don't know what they're doing. I mean, a 1% fee. I mean, they're pikers. Give it to the Donald. The Donald knows how to charge 20%. Now, the Donald's running a scam because he's not in charge of the Strait of Hormuz, and everybody that follows his scam gets blown to smithereens. But come on, he's the art of the deal guy. He's the 20%er, and we understand that that's illegal, and what the Iranians are trying to do, that's illegal. So we're gonna multiply that by 10, and it'll be super illegal. And so aren't we super? We're doing better and greater than it's ever been done before.
That is exactly the line. How does greater and better than it?
Yeah, better than ever before.
We grift,
Yeah, we are. We grift better than anybody ever. I am the king of thugs. They call me the Don. I am the Godfather. Isn't America great? You're hot. Yeah, like a stolen watch. You're hot. Yeah, if socialism helps the poor, why are 90% of the Cubans in Venezuela starving and desperate to flee to America? Did you see Venezuela after the earthquake? Did you see Venezuela before the earthquake? Marxism does not work. It's a tragedy. It's a travesty. Wake up, Gen Z. You are the gen of zombies. At least you were given the proper alphabetic association, a generation of zombies. Christians have got to be the dumbest people on the planet. I mean, I know it's a race between Marxists and Muslims and Christians. It's a fair contest, and maybe I do have them in out of order. But get behind me, Satan. Who did he say it to? Who did he say it to?
Peter.
Paul. Oh, excuse me, Peter. He said it to Peter.
Yeah.
He said it. No, because Paul was nowhere near him. So he said it to Peter. First of all, he didn't say anything. It was written in the 4th century by Eusebius. But the way it reads, he said it to Peter immediately after Peter claimed that he was Mr. Christ. And he told Peter, don't you dare, under any circumstances, tell anybody that. Terrible things will happen if you tell people that. So he denied that he was that. And then he told Peter to get behind him and as if he were Satan. So it wasn't Satan behind Jebus. It was Peter. Oops. So you may want to rethink of your AI depiction there and your whole Operation Heal America, because the Satan is the very thugs that created the myth of Christ and created Christianity.
And doesn't, who has the keys? It was Peter that had the keys, right? There was. Oh yeah. That's why Pete and Paul didn't get along so well.
Yeah. So yeah, Peter was given the keys, and the moment he's given the keys, he's called Satan.
Yeah.
Well, and
he's told. The first thing he's told is, "Don't ever repeat that. Don't tell anybody I'm the Christ. Terrible things will happen." And he's having this whole conversation. At the end of 3 years, after they've been with him for 3 years, and it is evident Gospel Jesus has never bothered to tell him who he is. So who knows what they were doing out there, and they roasting weenies over the campfire, but never once did he bother to say, "Oh, by the way, this is who I am." Why were they following him? Nobody knows, because he didn't say who he was. And so he asked them who he was, and they come up with some really lame excuses. And then Peter, who hadn't even been Peter then, he was still Shimon. Not very good writing by Eusebius, but he wasn't a very smart lad either. Has him called Peter before he is actually referred to as the Rock. And he says, "You are the Christ," and which is just ludicrous, because there's no prophetic reference to a Christ. None. So this is "You are the Christ" would be the dumbest thing you could ever say. That's like saying you're Chicken Little. And then I
think it's the Donkerdoodle. It's the Donkerdoodle that we're going with.
The Donkerdoodle. And then the first thing that Gospel Jesus said is, "Don't tell anybody that. Terrible things will happen if you tell people that. Don't. No." And then he turns to walk away, and he looked back and he says, "Get behind me, Satan." So it's the dumbest, most absurdly stupid bit of copy editing ever. And it was written in the 4th century.
And in that tale, it happens right in front of the cave of Pan that they've been camping out for a couple of weeks.
Right, the devil, the gateway to the devil. And the city they claimed they were nearby didn't even exist. Couldn't even get that part right. As I say, Eusebius was really a stupid piece of shit, and he's the one that wrote this. It came to be in the early 4th century, 300 years after the fact. Christians will believe anything. I mean, it's the dumbest religion. Well, it's not the dumbest religion. Islam's pretty dumb. Mormonism's pretty dumb. Scientology's pretty dumb. But it's in the running for the dumbest religion ever. It's certainly the most popular stupid religion.
Yes.
Well, this part they did have right, Danny. Paul is wretched. So I got that part right. Osteen is a con. Paul's wretched. What's your pick? I think I'll pass on both.
Both, yeah. This dude had an absolute opportunity when Houston was flooded to let people into his church, right?
Oh,
and they
I know.
Wouldn't, because I mean, it's like
they didn't want to mess up the carpets. They'd had the carpets cleaned, a week before. Yeah, not going to do that. Oh no, he's a money grubbing scumbag. It's like all the super church pastors. Yeah, he is a money grubbing scumbag and is absolutely deserving of hell. But Paul was literally demon possessed. According to God, Paul was the plague of death. Paul is in the running for worst human ever. You got Donald Trump, Paul, Muhammad, Hadrian, Titus, Vespasian, Eusebius is in the running. Akiba, Maimonides. These would be the top candidates. But Paul's, I think, pretty well secure in being in the top 5 worst humans ever. And I'm going to be at his trial. I'm going to make certain that he is badly, badly tormented before he is sent to Sheol. Oh, by the way, for Donald Trump's shame, Paul got naming rights of Sheol. His actual given name was Sheol, and so he got naming rights. That's probably not good.
Well, Paul's responsible for a couple of billion souls. The Osteen's probably in his ilk. The Grahams and the rest of them don't add it up. Don't come anywhere near that.
Oh, of course, yeah. No, Paul has destroyed probably 7 or 8, maybe 9 billion souls. Boy, you want to have comparisons. Which one of these two would you pick? I mean, if you're picking if you were picking between the two of them, I mean, do we have a lesser of two Weevils?
For what? To wash my car? I mean, what am I picking them for? That's the thing.
Who is the most pathetic of these two?
Oh, okay.
Like Osteen and Paul. I picked Paul as the most pathetic of the two because he really was a maniacal POS and demon possessed. And between these two, who would you say is the worst?
Oh, goodness.
It's a toss-up.
Yeah, it's a toss-up, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, I don't think...
Candace is more anti-Semitic, I think. I'm not saying that Erica's out there being I love Jews, but,
she is. Yeah, she is. She is definitely more anti-Semitic. She's more mean. She's meaner. She's... both are equal in terms of self-promoters. So I don't know. Tough call. One is leading a lot of women now astray with her Jesus and her martyrdom and all that kind of stuff. I think one is preying on the soul, the other is preying on the mind. They're both viruses. Now, this one I like. Bernie explains, Bernie Sanders here is a democratic socialist. He is explaining the difference between socialism and democratic socialism. This one has sprinkles.
I don't think this is the real Juanita Broderick. I'm just saying.
I think it's delicious. That's it's perfect explanation. Thank you, Bernie. Yeah, this one has sprinkles. Oh, by the way, Bernie owns like 6 or 7 multi-million-dollar homes. He's a very rich socialist. But that's the whole nature of socialism, is that the party leaders they have vacation villas and private airplanes and all manner of fat bank accounts, while everybody else grovels as their slaves. It's a serf lord set up under a different name. But it's got sprinkles.
It's got sprinkles.
My heart aches each time ICE does something like this. MAGA is the infected rat of the bubonic plague. That's who you are, MAGA. You're an infected rat, and you have brought the bubonic plague. Sorry.
I don't think this isn't the car.
No,
this is only 33 seconds long.
Yeah, I posted it on my X account. So if you go to yahowah.com and then you go to media, the first X account is my private X account, and you'll find it under my profile. You'll find it. It's worth seeing, because what it shows is that car at that same walking pace of a car on idle, in gear but in idle, with the driver having fallen over, with the hand caught on the steering wheel, pulling the steering wheel far right. That's about the turning radius of that car, just going around in circles because they've already killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. The Qur'an claims that a woman has half the brain of a man, that a woman's half as intelligent as a man, therefore a woman has the value of half a human.
Well, less than a camel.
Yeah, so that's the nature of the Quran. It's this is not some corruption of the religion. This is in the Quran itself. Muhammad was a pedophile and serial rapist, and the thing that I guess many don't understand is that a rapist does not love women. A racist hates women. He is in an abusive relationship with the woman, and the men that rape are incapable of having a decent, loving relationship with a woman. So they're badly deranged, and they have psychiatric problems, like Donald Trump raping a woman, and to prey on little children. These are all badly deranged men that are incapable of engaging in a loving relationship with a woman, so they turn to rape. Muhammad was a serial rapist. He chose first on what woman to rape after every terrorist raids, and they were divvying up the women, because what Muhammad did in every terrorist raid is they murdered the men, they raped the women, and they enslaved the children to buy more weapons. And then they robbed everything in that community. And the deal was that Muhammad got 20% of whatever his goons robbed, and they could keep the 80%. And that in women that they didn't want to sell into slavery and they decided not to kill, Muhammad always got first pick. And there are women after women, mostly Jewish women, whose husbands and sons and fathers Muhammad's goons had murdered and often tortured. And he would take the wives and the daughters of these men that he had murdered, and he would rape them. And that's the nature of Muhammad and Islam. To say that Muhammad was a godly man creating a godly religion, he was a prophet. No, he's a piece of shit. He was a serial rapist. He was a pedophile. When he was 66 years old, he raped Aisha when she was 6. So we have a 66-year-old man raping a 6-year-old girl. And she was not the only child in his harem. He had many little children as sex slaves. He was a pervert of the worst order. And he was a mass murderer. He was a slave trader. He was an overt liar. He was demon-possessed by his own admission. And a misogynist. The fact that this is a religion of 2 million people just says how utterly stupid people are. And the fact that it's tolerated outside of the lands that they have conquered just shows you how stupid people are.
Stupid. Yeah.
This is
we deserve what we tolerate.
Vile religion. I mean, really vile. And if you don't think so, you go read Goddamn Religion. It's 4,200 pages based entirely on Muhammad's and Allah's words. Nothing else. 100%. Every nuance of it documented. And it is takes the Quran, the entirety of the Quran, provides 6 translations of the Quran, presents the entire Quran in chronological order, not in the order that it's been jumbled up into, sets it into the context of Muhammad's life using the even more credible hadith than the Quran is, and it demonstrates this is a really reprehensible terrorist dogma that exists to wage war on all humankind, and it is genocidal. And apartheid is one of its more redeeming characteristics. It should never have been allowed into a non-Islamic country, and it should have been quarantined a long, long time ago.
Yeah, outside of Islamic countries, most people don't take the time to read the Quran. They're speaking out of context. They don't know what they're talking about. If they did actually read it, they might change their mind about it. Like you said, Prophet of Doom is the place to go.
Yeah, or it's now Goddamn Religion, because it's now 5 volumes. Prophet of Doom was the book that I wrote 21 years ago. And then on 10/7 of 23, I was asked by the boss to to rewrite it, update it, because I've rewritten and updated every other book, and the one volume of Prophet of Doom became the 5 volumes, 4,200 pages of goddamn religion, because I wanted to make certain that every single verse of the entire Quran was presented. I wanted to add a 6th translation to it, because I realized that the Quran was actually written in Hebrew. And I wanted to use the tools that had been made available, which are interlinears and linked lexicons, and my knowledge of Hebrew to present it more accurately, while also keeping the original 5 translations that I had. And then I make certain that everything was properly documented as it related to the Hadith. But it proves that Allah is not a god, Muhammad was not a prophet, and that Islam is is genocidal. Its intent is to kill every person on earth, including every Muslim. Yeah, it didn't have to cite Bukhari there. It could have very easily cited the Quran itself. There are whole surahs in the Quran devoted to demeaning women. You know, Trump is the disease, ICE is the symptom, MAGA is the carrier. I'm sorry, but it really is a tragedy. And the cause is that the President of the United States is demon possessed. He is Satan incarnate. And these are his brown shirts. Oh, yes. I didn't know Satan had a hand. He's looking fairly good for being at least 6,000 years old. But you want to think that a bullet was moved. It was moved by Satan. But think about the AI and how stupid you'd have to be. What's wrong with the bullet there?
It's got the brass on it.
Exactly.
Satan's not very smart.
Can't save your brass if it's going down range that way, right? No,
Yeah.
Absolutely not. It's going to save that brass. Only some people will get that, but
yeah. You know, we have mass goons in the streets of America, armed masked goons.
10,000 people in 5 days. 10,000 people in a 5-day work week. Where do they go?
If you
put them?
No, well, they have little concentration huts for them. But the fact of the matter is, it's not true.
Okay, I was going to say, because that's a small city.
It's not true.
I mean,
no.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Oh, Bedford's only 40,000 people. Or no, Bedford's 20,000 people. Bedford, Maine. No, it's not true. But why has truth ever been of any value?
That's what I'm saying. Is I don't know that there's a prison in the United States, one facility that houses 10,000 people in one place. I mean,
what is the acronym or the writing on the front of the guy that's facing us in the ski mask and the ski hat? It looks like ERO, like it could be zero or
hero
what,
or some
hero or zero. But what is that?
I don't know what. Or is that a D? I'm not sure what. I'd have to go look
Zero?
up and see what that acronym.
Nerd, Nero as in
N-E-R-D?
the Nero as in the emperor.
Yeah.
Nero, zero, or hero. Oh yeah, Trump now Trump's going to go and talk to the nation on Thursday. And on Thursday, he's already setting this up as that he is the reincarnation of JFK. And so he wants people to believe that JFK was onto a conspiracy. And the commies were the conspiracy. And so, during the JFK era, you're getting out of that whole era of the thought police trials and of people being accused of communist
McCarthyism.
sympathies.
Sure.
Yeah, McCarthyism. Communist leanings and tendencies, and so it was a really despicable period for the United States, and so he's coming out of that period, and it's the most aggressive period for the Soviet Union, and so there was the concern of the Soviet Union trying to expand and that sort of thing. We are in a very different time today. Of the communist countries that exist in the world, there isn't any that is trying to take over the United States. There isn't, North Korea just wants to squelch North Korea and make sure that nobody leaves North Korea. And in terms of China, they're not trying to import communism. They don't even use communism. They use free enterprise to run the country, which is why they're the manufacturing center of the world now. But they're not trying to infiltrate the United States with their brand of communism. And so there's just no infiltration anymore. And there's no, the Chinese do business with everybody in the world. They do not care. And they don't impose communism on anybody that they do a deal with. Their deals are all straightforward. We'll give you the money to do the deal. But the terms of us giving you the money to do the deal, whoa, we had a little camera flinch there. But the terms of that deal are that you will use Chinese manufacturing companies to manufacture your roadway or your power plant or your mine or your port or whatever it's going to be. We'll build it, but it's going to be built with Chinese companies. We'll give you the money. And if you pay the money back, then it's yours. We built it for you. Our businesses at a profit will benefit from it together. It's just great. And if you don't pay us back, then it's ours. No hard feelings. And there's no statement in there that says if you're not communist, then we'll take it over. No, they don't care. So that era doesn't exist anymore. And so to claim that there are communists trying to infiltrate U.S. elections, which he wants to do to promote his Save America Act, which is to say no one's ever going to have a meaningful vote again. It's just all a preposterous lie. But it's just so easy to fool people by particularly go back and say Kennedy was onto him, and now I am the one who is actually going to identify them, and I'm going to stand up to them. Do you believe JFK was killed for trying to expose the same crooks Trump is now exposing? Hell,
there's
no.
Some old crooks.
By the way,
there are some old crooks.
JFK was killed by the CIA, and Trump is not trying to expose the CIA.
Right.
Nope. Trump has those guys in his back pocket.
Yeah, be interesting to see what he comes up with his CIA. I don't know if Trump does have the CIA in his back pocket, but they certainly are a couple wet in hell. The conspiratorialists like to blame the death of JFK on the Jews, which of course there's no proof of that. So will Trump use this MAGA theme now and try to unify all the wayward MAGAs like Tucker Carlson and blame the Jews on trying to rig the next election, where he would unify his base again and be able to promote a myth that would put him in a betrayal mode of Israel?
Yeah,
because he's going to claim that it's a foreign country that has been caught trying to rig American elections.
That is some convoluted stuff that I don't think even he could come up with. It'll be whatever is absolute. No, he
no, they've already planned it. They've already planned it. They're going to claim that it's either Russia, which would be nonsense, or that it's China, also nonsense. I can't imagine that they would claim that the Ukrainians were trying to get regime change in America, because that's what we were trying to do, and that's what we're trying to do in Russia as well. So that would be the pot calling the kettle black. But Israel would be the easiest sell for him. His base would lap it up.
Sure. Yeah. I'm just saying that I don't think he thinks that far ahead. Somebody else in his administration may have thought that far ahead and tried to.
No, his deal is really, I mean, the most likely, the easiest sell for him would be to blame the Jews. But the thing that is most consistent with he is that he doesn't recognize that America has already gone Marxist. So now the threat is inside. So he's going to blame some communist agitator from the outside. But at this point, 65% of Democrats are socialists. 65%. And it's in the very close to 60% of Gen Zers that are. It's about the same with African Americans. And that's quite that high with African Americans. But of Democrats and of Gen Zers, it's in the 60 to 65 percentile are socialists. So now, if you want to rid the country of socialists, you'd have to cull the population by 50%.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah. Wow.
Wow. That's how dumbed down we've become. For he will order his angels to protect you wherever you go. Well, me, yes. You, not so much.
I was just going to say, who is the he and who is the you? And
I'm the he. I am the he, and you're not it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am quite familiar with Psalm 91. That was written specifically regarding this job that I'm doing. And as for that flaming sword, you'll get to see that again too. And even there are no angels, by the way, but the Malak. The stoutest of Yahowah's Saba, that's the command and control regimen of the militant wing, really, of the heavenly host. It says they will on Teruah, as this soul rises with that fiery sword, and he will have all of the heavenly host under him to incinerate the religious and political at that time. Mm-hmm. So when the Twistians get their little stories, they're all twisted and perverted from something that God actually said, and in this case, they're going to be the victim.
Yeah. I was going back to your luminaries yesterday. That was kind of neat. The three sons, how they also kind of differentiate the three places for souls. With Shem being Shamaim and Japheth being the just nothingness, and then Ham.
Ham is the ones that are being hit with the sword there, and Japheth are that mortal remnant who were easily persuaded. They didn't promote religion or politics. They were the victims of it. And they're going to start off as the newbies that will be open to the truth, at least. And that's the group that we're going to be working with. So we'll be working with a mortal remnant comprised of Yesheth. That's why they're going to camp out in the tents of Shem as we re-enter the garden.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, after it says that after this sword and the Malak of the heavenly host rid the planet of the stigma of and the stain of religion and politics, a garden emerges.
A what?
A garden.
A garden. Okay, gone. Okay.
A garden. In other words, it's consistent all the way through. And this is the chapter preceding the Choder. It tells us exactly what kind of a world he's coming into, what the job entails.
Wow.
So here he was oppressed and he was afflicted, and he operated not his mouth, and he was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearer, he was silent. It's the story of Yeshayah 53. It's the story of the Passover lamb. Your Jesus was not the Passover lamb. You got no concept of what Passover even represents. You got no tie to the Torah. Your Jesus is not the Passover lamb. The Passover lamb is David, whom Yeshayah writes about all the time. You got the wrong guy. It's called counterfeiting. Yeah, here's the Musketeers. I haven't seen Daniel Hanaka in a long time because, I haven't been on X in a long time. But with Facebook down, I'm using this, and he's got his Musketeers. He's got the Ayatollahs. He's got Sinwar. He's got one of the other Hamas leaders, and that's Erdogan down in the front. They're all little mice. Most people don't know that Allahu Akbar is from the Hebrew, and it actually means Allah's a mouse. Oh, it's fitting. I don't think Dan knows that, but anyway,
Dan did not intend that. It was, yeah.
No, but anyway, well, a little support for Dan. He got that part right. Newsmax is maximum propaganda. This is really a reprehensible attempt at news. They're now promoting the Trumpian idea that Obama should be arrested, subpoenaed for treason. Now, I don't like Obama. It was too Marxist for me. And I don't like president candidates that have no work experience. I think they make really, really crappy presidents. But the notion that Obama was treasonous, which is the Trump lie, to have Newsmax promote that, it's scandalous. There's no journalistic integrity at all.
At all.
No.
Everybody's being fed their own propaganda, you know.
Might as well be an X
right
account. Yeah, might as well be an X account. Yeah, the Winston Churchill line. You know, and Winston's it's at risk here getting his account banned on X for making this statement. He made it a long time ago, and maybe it's before before Gronk was operational. But you know, you make that statement today, Winston. You would even with all evidence in favor of what you've said and lots of proof, Gronk would not tolerate that. So that's probably going to be a strike against you, Winston. You may need a drink. Yeah, here's another example of that. This was an Islamic State operation. It would have been conducted under the authority of Jolani, who's now the president of Syria, where they took cage after cage of Yazidi women who refused to be sex slaves, and to encourage the ones that were reluctant to be sex slaves, which means they'd be raped 8-10 times a day. They put them in a public spectacle. In a cage, douse them with gasoline and burn them alive. But so the Muslims can do that. And the Islamic State, even the head of Syria now can do that, but we can't say that's bad. Got it.
Islamophobic. Yeah.
That's
most reprehensible religion ever created. You know, when this was one that I looked at today, and you look at him, and he given his chance to have the three fist fight, and that whole deal. This is so fake. It's not even a good fake.
Yeah.
I mean, there was play it because it's really quick, but it's not even a good fake. No. So you got the one guy keeping him from walking off the stage, and the other, and then two guys that are protecting him with their hands, because a bullet would never go through a hand. That'll do it right there. Yeah. Group hug. We all want to be in the shot. And now the picture that's in the White House that hangs on that was painted in Israel and given to Trump by Netanyahu. When Netanyahu was in the kiss Trump's butt mode. And there was a picture of Obama that was fairly dignified that was hanging in that hallway. And now this reprehensible scene replaces it.
That's a perfect word.
I still remember seeing that live. And was like, he just won the election.
Oh yeah, just won. Yeah, just won. It was even though it was an obvious fraud, it was enough to fool morons, and he did.
Yeah.
Satan loves assassination attempts. So here is you are not a Jew. You are not Israel. Stop stealing their history, their doctrine, their covenants. You're a Gentile. I don't know what this guy is trying to pull off here. I don't know if he's crazy or what. But the fact of the matter is that the New Testament is literally insane as its presentation of Jews. And what it says about Jews is absolutely and completely untrue, and easily proved to be untrue. And yet it was believed by Christians so that they treated Jews in a manner that was degrading and demeaning, subjugating and persecuting them for 19 centuries. And so I would say that as it relates to God's chosen people, Christianity has been the greatest menace to God's people ever created. And so if you think you're going to please God by torturing and tormenting his people, I've got another thing coming. He does not take well to that. And that's why Christianity will not exist 7 years from now.
Good riddance.
Good riddance.
Born in Rome, full of legions, the causation of the Middle Age, Dark Ages, the Inquisition. Yeah, that's a lot going for him.
It's got a lot going for him. A lot of hellish behavior going for them. And I'm good riddance. Christianity has been the scum of the earth for a very long time. And Paul was a overt liar and a demonic individual who never quoted his imaginary Jesus once, never once quoted a single thing from him. And every time he quoted something from the Torah, prophets, and Psalms, he got it wrong. He misquoted it. It's so easy to prove that he is a fraud. And yet he wrote the first 14 books of the Christian New Testament. The 15th book, the book of Acts, was written about him. And the next two books were written by his posse, Mark and Luke. And you got nothing else that was written prior to 100 CE.
The beast that would tread upon the world.
Yeah, you got it. So he's saying, if you believe any of these, I have a question. And his, what so he's got the Tooth Fairy and Santa Claus and the Spaghetti Monster, which I have proven a time or two is real. Jeebus, Yahweh, Muhammad, and the Easter Bunny. And the answer on number 5 there is, you got his name wrong, it's Yahowah, but prophecy. He proves his existence through prophecy and a perfectly accurate depiction of ancient history that the world would never have known other than his depiction of it. A totally consistent account over 1,000 years' time, but prophecy, written evidence that was said, this is what's going to happen. And we have extant written proof of the things that he said were going to happen. And centuries after they were written, they happened. And sometimes millennia after he said they were going to happen, they happen. And we're on the precipice right now of having hundreds of thousands now of prophecies fulfilled right before our eyes. So the answer on Yahowah, by the way, Yahweh does not carry a stick. He is not no thunder. He does not look like Moshe. He is not a man. Is prophecy. But to know that, you'd have to read Yahowah.com and understand all the fulfilled prophecies that he gave. But the Easter Bunny I have seen. Now, the Easter Bunny I have seen, and I've had money put under my pillow by the Tooth Fairy. And when I was a kid, that shiny little bicycle, it was brought by Santa Claus. So, it's a tough call there.
Yeah. Jesus never put a $5 under my pillow. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah. So, yeah.
But Ugo Cannon really screwed up with this one by including Yahowah in there, didn't he?
Yeah,
he
sure
really
did.
Screwed up.
Yeah, it was a screw up. Yeah, if he had left Yahowah out, then he might have had a point, but he didn't. Too bad. 2 years ago today, Satan loves to promote myths of saving his favorites from death-defying acts. That was the big issue that Alexander the Great always had. Is that I must be a god because I've been spared from all these things. And Julius Caesar often had the same approach. Genghis Khan tried the same con job. It's a very common approach to those who are in league with Satan. Muhammad made it all the time.
Yeah, the other side of that is as well is that if you didn't make it, right? I mean, because,
well, yeah. Look at the Christian. Look at the Christian Jesus. He didn't make it. So
right.
you're gonna spare Trump, who is a rapist and pedophile and lying maniacal thug, and you're gonna spare him, but you wouldn't spare Jesus,
Sure.
and he's supposed to be your son. Come on.
Right.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, the rich will die and the poor will die, but those who believe in God will have eternal life. Let's just suppose that it's true. Where? Where? Why?
Ooh, yeah. Where?
Why?
That's a good one.
Where?
You'll have
Where?
eternal life.
Yeah, you can.
Where?
Yeah.
You're going to need an air conditioner.
You're going to need an air conditioner. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry there, sweetheart. But I can tell you absolutely for certain that God has absolutely no interest in your belief. If you are believing, you do not know him. If you do not know him, he is not giving you eternal life. And you would not want eternal life unless you have capitalized on matzah in addition to Passover, because Passover happens to be the only source of eternal life. And Passover without matzah is a really, really bad situation. And I don't see you celebrating either Pesach or matzah here. So you'd be out of luck. And oh, by the way, God says that those who pray to him who are Torahless look like they have shit on their faces. So the AI did a really bad job of depicting this little girl. It's inaccurate. She'd have her face covered in dung. Yeah, this is the Kennedy piece where Kennedy is saying, we have to be worried about commies. But you can open that top part of it, and I'll comment, because I decided that I would do a little investigation, because at that time the communist and the Soviet Union was an outside threat to America, and so that invading communists infiltrating the country it's a long past situation. That it did not happen to any significance in the 1960s, and by the 1970s it was forgotten, but by 2020 now. It's here, and communism is us. So China runs an economy on free enterprise. It does not export communism, and nor does North Korea. So the primary sources of Marxism today are America's schools and universities, overwhelmingly so. 65% of Democrats are Marxist. 40% of independents. 60% of Gen Z. For the under 30, 60% are socialists, 55% of blacks. So if you wanted to talk about communism in America, the only way you could resolve communism in America is to export half of Americans, shut down all schools so that you don't make any more of them, and you'd have to get rid of what almost 2/3 of people under 30 years old. Mm-hmm. And you'd go to a one-party system because you couldn't have Democrats.
Well, he did say that the American military was going to be fighting American citizens, testing, on. So
if you're going to rid America of communism, which I'm opposed to as well, but not in his technique, you'd have to essentially kill half of America.
Yeah,
Good luck with that.
There'd be a civil war and martial law.
I think there will be a civil war and martial law. I think that is upcoming. I think that Trump only has a very minimal number of tools that he can use to obfuscate having to run for re-election in 2028, and he's not leaving America until 2030, January 29 of 2030. And because of that, the tools that he has at his disposal are economic collapse and total anarchy. He has World War, and he has Civil War. And they don't have to be independent. They could all be blended together. But those are the basic tools that he has. And because there is a 0% possibility that the man would be reelected. And there's 0% possibility that not elected, reelected, that he's leaving office. So all he can do is not have the next election. And the ways to avoid it are martial law through anarchy. And the anarchy could be comprised of civil war. It could be comprised of there's world war, and therefore you need to put the country under martial law. And it could be a complete and total economic collapse, all of which are possible between now and 2028. All of those are possible.
Yep.
So, pick your poison. So here's Daniel again, Daniel Hanukkah, and he was actually one of the more reasonable of the Israeli promoters, but he's got it here. He wants to make Iran Persian again. What he doesn't know is that Persia's long gone, and that Persia and Rome beat each other to oblivion. And by the time that Islam rose and after Muhammad's death, and they had the war of compulsion, forcing every Arab to become Muslim, they went on a 100-year conquest of the world, and that conquest actually lasted all the way through the Battle of Tours in the 17th century. So it was a very, very long conquest of the world. But these savages prevailed because, well, they were more savage than anything that the world had ever encountered previously. And second, that the Persian military had been decimated by the Romans, and the Roman military by the Persians. They had fought each other far too long and too brutally, and so there was nothing left. And so Islam was forced on Persia, and it destroyed the Persian culture. So my comment to Daniel is please don't buy into or support the lies of regime change. They always turn out poorly, 100% of the time. And the only way to improve Iran is to expose and condemn Islam, which is what I did with Prophet of Doom and now doing with goddamn religion. You want to liberate Persians from Islam, communicate goddamn religion. Read it, talk about it, and you can liberate enormous number of Persians from Islam. So for that, read the 5 volumes of Goddamn Religion, all free at Yahowah.com. Yeah, here's one of the atheists. Why can't God communicate directly with everyone? Why rely on pastors? Well, he hates pastors, and so I can assure that he's not relying on pastors, and he doesn't like you either. So he's not going to speak to you either. So he doesn't like you, and he hates pastors. So there you go. Yeah, he answered the question. You ought to read his story. That's one of the things I always get frustrated with people. Why do you ask questions that God's already answered? God answered this question twice. And then he was consistent. Once he answered the question twice, he just went on and did exactly what he said. He made the attempt of speaking directly to people, his own people, after saving them from slavery in Egypt, after giving them 3 days to prepare. He came down at least a energy-based projection of him. And he spoke to them through this energy-based projection. And the Israelites, after God saving them, all told God to go away. They said, we want you to go away. We don't ever want to see you or hear from you again. So God tried that. Didn't work. God's not stupid. He's not Donald Trump of, I've made a mistake. It didn't work. I'm going to do that same thing again and watch it not work, so that after it doesn't work, I'm going to do that same thing again and have it not work. God said obviously it didn't work. People were just way too intimidated. They had too much darkness in them, and they felt very uncomfortable in God's presence and hearing directly from him. And God says, I get it. That's why God couldn't resolve the issue with Adam himself. It was just too much for him. And he was too much for the children of Israel. So they told him to go away and shut up. They never wanted to hear from him again. And God said, I get it. I won't ever do that again. I will pick people and I will speak through people that I choose. And so that's the answer to your question, is he does not speak directly to everyone. He does not know any more than a fraction of 1 in a million people today. And so he is not speaking with someone who is an antagonist like you. And he has never spoken through the religious, ever. Oh, you're just been played for a fool there, skeptic. You've not thought it through. The answer was available to you. Let's do one more, and we'll call it for the day. So this is Donald Trump is going to have his Thursday evening press conference. The speech to the nation reportedly to show newly declassified intelligence reports. Well, when you say intelligence reports in the United States, you're really in trouble. That revealed that a foreign nation plans to interfere with the 2020. How could you say it plans to interfere with the 2020 presidential election? Plans is in the present or future tense, and 2020 is long gone.
Yes. Yeah. It was. First of all, it's old news. I mean, because it seems like the verb doesn't.
Yeah,
fit
and there was
absolutely.
there was no proof. The best thing they could come up with is that there were some folks in various countries that had bots and social media, like on X and Facebook, which is probably 40% bots anyway on X and Facebook, that put out really stupid social media things that had Satan and Jesus wrestling, and Satan says, "No, I'm going for the guy Trump. I'm pulling for Trump," and so to be influenced by them, you'd have to be social media stupid. And if you're social media stupid, you really shouldn't be voting anyway. But was there any coordinated national level interference in the U.S. elections? No. Has the Central Intelligence Agency interfered in virtually every country's elections? Yes. And so a address that has the CIA saying that the 2020 elections were interfered with, that was the claim, of course, that the Democrats had to accuse Trump, and now so Trump wants to have his big powwow on saying that we have evidence that some foreign country wanted to influence the religion on behalf of Biden. Is that what he's going to claim?
It was 6 years ago. It was 6 years ago.
Oh my God.
Even if we knew that Russia they wanted Biden in and they bought it for Biden, what does that change now?
Absolutely. Okay. First of all,
nothing.
Biden was the idiot that upped the ante and went full in on the Ukrainian proxy war. So there is a 0% possibility that the Russians wanted Biden. Zero.
Right.
None. And there's no proof that they did anything to change that. And there is no indication of any kind that the Russians had trusted Trump. The only thing that you can say about Trump is that Trump was a made Russian asset. They had Trump to Russia when he was a businessman. They bribed him, they wined and dined him, and there are internal KGB documents that talk about how they made Trump, which means they compromised him and therefore had influence over Trump. So if you wanted to say that Russia would have preferred Trump to Biden because they had the goods on him and had the ability to control him. Yeah, you could make that argument if the KGB were still in power and if Russia hadn't gone through a democratic referendum. Then you could have made that power under the Soviet Union. You can't make that claim now. And why would Trump want to bring that claim if they're trying to get him because they have the goods on him? So
that's not my point. My point is the only thing that changes, it's like a home run record when they figure out you're doping. Biden gets an asterisk next to his name, and Trump gets to say, I really won that election. That's literally all he cares about. That's literally the only thing that changes with this little announcement, fake or real. I mean, literally the only thing they can change is put an asterisk by Biden's name, and Trump can say, I really did win that election, It's because there was election interference. I was absolutely nothing changes. Absolutely nothing changes for anyone else in the world, with this little speech thing.
But what country would have preferred Biden over Trump? It can't be Russia, and. There's no reason to assume it would be China.
Israel. Yeah, China.
There's no reason to assume. You would never assume it'd be Israel. So who was it that would want that? And how did they manage to pull that off? And what did they gain?
Madagascar. It was Madagascar.
It's the what are they? The mercats of Madagascar.
Yes.
Move it. I shake it. I move
the fact that you know that at all.
Yeah. So the mercats of Madagascar. There we go. I guess that could be it. Yeah. And they wanted the Lion King, and and the hippopotamus was running against him, and they wanted the Lion King, and. Or maybe it was the zebra, because the zebra didn't seem very smart to me. The penguins were clever, but so the penguins could have been the maniacal ones. So let's blame the penguins.
Masterminds.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the CIA, which has clandestinely perpetrated 100 regime change operations around the world, and routinely interferes in everybody's politics, is now going to be the voice of credibility that's going to say somebody else actually tried to interfere in America's politics, and that's not good because we're the only legitimate interferers. America can interfere, yes. Nobody else can interfere, and therefore we're saying that they're bad because they did they tried to do what we do every day.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have that right, Wookie? Yeah, Wookie says, I think you've talked enough, Dad. We're going to go and do something else now that's really fun. Maybe have a good lunch or something. So we'll say goodbye. Wookie is here to say goodbye. And here we are to Wook. Thank you, Roger. It's a pleasure being with you. We'll stay tuned.
Great fun.
We'll do her again tomorrow. Good day.
Good day.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. That was Fetch. Gotta run now. Catch y'all on our next podcast.